The mainframe's been celebrated over 6 decades. What do you see for the next 6 decades?
AI, quantum computer, mainframe as a service, is something that we need to bring into the mainframe ecosystem through these sidecar solutions.
Welcome to another segment of Mainframe Insights, where we bring together industry experts to talk about what matters to our mainframe customers. I have special guests, Namik Hrle, IBM Fellow and VP of Z Data Strategy, and Chile Hidalgo, Broadcom's Data Management Product Strategy Leader, with me today. Together, they are going to talk about the mainframe's future and the role of ecosystem partnership in that future. My first question for you guys, we'll start with Chile. How did you guys start your career on the mainframe?
So I'm a relative newcomer to the mainframe. I'm sitting next to you, and to you I feel like a baby. I don't look like a baby, but I feel like a baby. I came to the mainframe about 7 years ago. I was coming from the distributed side, and an opportunity came up. I said, I don't know what mainframe is. I don't know if it's a platform or a software, but I'm willing to try it out. And I didn't know anything about it. I was skeptical. I was those people who read the newspapers, oh yeah, antiquated, yeah, going out of style, all this kind of stuff. And then you start getting into it, you're like, all these nines of reliability, my laptop doesn't have that in an hour, never mind a year. You start learning about the platform, the system, and it just really pulls you in and draws you in because it's so compelling.
And Namik.
Oh, okay.
Gosh, you have a lore history.
I heard a couple of times, 7 years. I'm actually, embarrassed to say for how long it's been when I started with the mainframe. But I started as a customer. I actually started as a customer, as a basically programmer on a mainframe system. At that time, IBM was delivering and developing actually business applications, like, for example, HR or sales distribution and material management and all those kind of applications. And what's really interesting, and not many people know, because now there are not many that can remember actually that around, but it was delivered as a source code. Any kind of customization, and that was what I had to do, any kind of customization was actually changing this original source code. I know it sounds really strange, but on the positive side, it really forced me and anybody else who was working at that time to learn really deep internals.
So is that sort of like early open source project?
Well, it was open source, but every customer had its own kind of snowflake customization. And at that time, we really had to learn about 370 architecture. This is, by the way, 390 architecture. This is, by the way, MVS. This is ZOS. This is Z architecture of today. So, the principle of operations manual was basically, something that we all kind of swear to, and learned a lot about the Z. So that was good stuff. Then after that, worked on a system engineer, and then after that, I actually developed DB2PM. Some people might remember that was the product that later got somehow subsumed into OmegaMon. But I was the original designer and programmer on DB2PM.
PM, okay, performance manager.
Performance manager, yeah.
That's right. I think we just talked about how you were one of the first people to port SAP over to Z.
After that, it came the different project, which was really porting the SAP application, major suite of enterprise application to Z system, particularly on a database servers for DB2, then later for ZOS as an application server. That was a really major project and very successful. And then after that, I really started actually looking into what kind of other additional workloads we can actually bring to mainframe.
Yes.
Because we know what mainframe forte is, which is basically operational transactional workload. But later, as you know, like even 20 years ago already, we have seen that analytics is something which is enhancing transactional workloads, and having analytics closer to the mainframe itself is something that we need to do. And how we do that. Do we do it natively? Do we do it through sidecar solutions and all those kind of things?
Yeah, I think it was because of your work with DB2 Analytics Accelerator that coined that term that Gartner then used of the co-located analytics and transaction processing.
Hybrid
transaction analytical processing. That's right.
Yes, exactly.
So Namik, I know you are always thinking about the future, and the mainframe's been celebrated over 6 decades.
Correct.
What do you see for the next 6 decades?
I actually do believe that there's a tremendously fertile ground for innovation for the next decades, even going into those kind of futures of 50, 60 years. First of all, I do believe that we need to move at some point in time into mainframe as a service. Whether this is on-prem, whether this is on private cloud, whether this is private cloud, doesn't really matter, but a mainframe as a service, which basically reduces one of the most challenges that we have today with the mainframe, which is a skill shortage, right?
Yeah, yep.
And for that skill shortage, probably the ultimate solution is if we basically just multiplex that kind of skills into some kind of as a service. So this is a major thing. Of course, it will require tremendous amount of innovation in automation, in tooling, in making sure that these things basically scale for that kind of paradigm as a service, and also address something which is specific for the mainframe, which is kind of snowflake landscape. Each customer is a bit different.
Yes.
And as you know very well, as a service requires to have something which is
especially for the mainframe, because
Especially
the
for the
workload needs to be
mainframe.
very
So
well
that's the one.
segregated.
So mainframe as a service. Next one, quickly, no matter what, I'm 100% sure that even in 60 years, transactional workload will require a reliable, secure, performant, boring kind of system that delivers stuff somewhere humming in the background and just deliver the value. And we will just need to continue investing into security, into automation, into administration, into all those kind of things to make that.
So I was going to ask you, what do you see workloads evolving? But it sounds like you think transactional processing will continue to reside on-prem, on the mainframe?
Or as a service on a public cloud, but mainframe as a service. So definitely something that this is there, and we have to. By the way, we shouldn't be just lolling somewhere in a basking in a glory that we are owning this workload. And as you know, we do
Right.
more 70% of
We
the
own
workload
most
of the
of it.
world. But the AI has potential in the future to basically transform and convert these kind of things somewhere else. So we have to be very careful on that one. So that's one. Next one is, of course, making sure that we bring technologies that are not native to mainframe, but are relevant for the mainframe workload into the mainframe ecosystem through these sidecar solutions. IDA's or IBM DB2 Analytics Accelerator is a typical example of that, where we actually brought the best of warehousing analytics into mainframe totally transparently to the applications. We have to do similar things, for example, eventually with quantum. So when we have a quantum computer, which has a very specific...
You create a sidecar for quantum?
So, for example, creating sidecar for the quantum. So that's a second huge area.
So to kind of cover the AI workload.
AI and any kind of workload which is basically, exponential in nature, which traditional systems, not just mainframe, but any kind of traditional system has a problem to do that. And the third one is mainframe doesn't live in isolation. Mainframe lives basically surrounded with what we call distributed environment. So what we need to make sure is to make the data from the mainframe available for the distributed application, either in situ through some kind of federation and data virtualization techniques, or to bring them next and collocate to some of the workloads that are basically running somewhere else through some kind of technologies like, for example, what we did with Datagate. But I need to really think about next generation of that, which is I like to call it like almost avatar. So this thing lives somewhere else, but it has a connection to the mainframe because this is where the original is, right? And it's not just the content, what Datagate does, but it's also the governance, security, authorization. Everything, metadata is also part of the avatar.
I'm really happy to hear you talk so positively about the mainframe as part of a larger ecosystem. Well, Chile, given what you just heard Namik say about the future, Broadcom is a strategic partner for IBM in this journey. Where do you see Broadcom fitting in?
Yeah, I think there's a few different aspects of what you just said, Namik, that I want to pick up on. And I've heard you say before that AI is nothing more than a new way of visualizing and analyzing data. And I think that's right. I think that's a very simple mental model to understand the implications and the severity and the potential for AI. Right? And if you say the word data, of course, my mind goes to mainframe. All the data reside on the mainframe, and you need to be able to continue to process those transactions, but at the same time, like you said, make that data available. Correct. And make that data part of the overall ecosystem. It's not going to leave the mainframe. The transactions will happen, and then the question comes back to things like you were saying. Well, how do you facilitate skills? How do you enable your SMEs to be able to do the most they can with the limited time they have? Well, you look at automation, right? And you look at getting tasks that they are doing right now that could be done through AI in a more automated fashion, things like that. You look at skills trainings programs to make sure that you're getting that next generation of talent. And if you can get people who are able to do 80% of the work through more modern tools, through web interfaces, through things like that, then you free up your SMEs to do the hard work that they need to take care of on a day-to-day basis. So I think there's elements related to automation and training that Broadcom is really present in and supporting with today as part of the broader ecosystem.
Yeah, we've talked about the future. So how about today? I mean, today, every customer I speak with tell me that the size of their team has gone down, and they've lost their most experienced DBA or the experienced sysprog. What are some things that IBM and Broadcom are doing to help alleviate the current situation?
And I'll say first, look, this is an ecosystem where we all need to partner and be collaborative to be successful. Right, but the platform is not going to be successful if we're both not successful. So we need to look at ways in which we can partner to strengthen and amplify the mainframe platform and get that recognized and out there. Specifically at Broadcom, we do things like our Vitality program, where we train people and get them into customers with a fully trained mainframe background credentials. We help our customers upgrade and modernize through things like our expert change planning program. And of course, we participate in Zoe and the Open Mainframe project and things like that to support the ecosystem. Again, it's not just about Broadcom being successful in the mainframe space. Without Broadcom, if the mainframe ecosystem is not successful, then we can't be successful either.
Music to my ears. I mean, absolutely. We are talking about ecosystem, right? What we can do from an IBM perspective, of course, we can try to do that from a technologist perspective, right? To complement everything what you just said, what you are doing. So to complement all that, what we are doing, probably you know already that we are investing quite a lot into AI assistance on the Z. For example, what's an assistant in terms of to address some kind of skills problem? What's a code assistant in order to address the problem of the enormous amount of code that we have, for example, in COBOL, in some older kind of languages, which are not, and with skills are not really readily available.
Right.
So maybe to help people not necessarily just convert to something else, also that can be done as well, but maybe to refactor a huge monolithic modules into a smaller one, which are still COBOL, right? But they are easier to maintain, they are easier to customize, they are easier to address. So this is basically what I believe IBM, from our perspective,
Oh, that's interesting.
can actually
Taking COBOL and breaking it down.
Exactly.
Manageable
Make
pieces.
it the manageable pieces easier to maintain.
Yeah.
Document even. Oh, okay, this module actually does that.
Yes.
Because people who wrote those are, unfortunately, some of them are not around, right? I mean, even if you are looking for them.
But if you're asking someone to decipher 4 million lines of code that was written 40 years ago,
Oh yeah,
it's very difficult. So tools like that certainly would help.
Absolutely.
What clearly comes through to me in this conversation is how passionate you both are for the platform and for the customers that are in this space. So before we leave, can you guys share some parting thoughts with us?
Well, I mean, I think the mainframe will be around for the next 60 years, whether any of us are. And I do think in terms of the current struggles, we've touched on a few of those, trying to figure out what the workloads that should reside on the mainframe, what workloads should reside elsewhere, how to maintain the mainframe. I think mainframe as a service is a potential possibility to alleviate the skill shortages that we also see a lot of. And I think the other piece that's really important is the automation piece. How do you take that work and make it so that anyone with limited training and limited time on the mainframe can do some of the responsibilities, some of the work with more visual and easier to access type technology?
Right. I guess, I already said, that I really absolutely see the bright future in terms of the innovation capacity. I personally, I actually do believe, strongly believe that it is tremendously important to have a strong ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And at least for two reasons, okay? And these two reasons are both most relevant because they are there for customers. From a customer's perspective, number one, no single company really has at any point in time all the capacity and all the resources, not even all focus, not even potentially timing priorities to deliver everything what is absolutely needed, right?
So you need Chile.
So this is why you need Chile, this is why you need Sam, this is why you need partners, right? In order to basically fill up the gap. And why? Because the customers require that. So customers will definitely benefit. So that's one reason, okay? Another reason is that even if there is actually overlap, even if there is actually some kind of competition, my God, from a customer perspective, that's a healthy competition. I mean, I'm trying to do my best. You Chile are trying, you Sam, we are trying to do your best, and we are coming up with the technologies, competing technologies, okay? But we are basically trying to overcome each other, overpace each other.
Yeah, keeping each other on our toes.
Again, for the customers. And me, loving the mainframe environment, loving the customers, actually, I believe this is absolutely right. Not all, sometimes it's a bit awkward, sometimes it's painful, but isn't any competition is like that. Even the most friendly competition is like that, okay? So that's one thing, okay? And then the last one, what I would really like to say is that, hey, healthy ecosystem, this is the healthy and strong, basic, fundamental product around we all basically revolve in this particular case, let's say DB2, for the US, but there are some others as well. And when I say we all benefit and advance that product, we advertise it, we promote it, we talk about that, we basically champion it. And isn't this session exactly that?
This is, yes, championing the platform.
This session is exactly example what I'm just talking about, right? Because we together and jointly basically promote a technology which is common technology on which we build our offerings.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Namik and Chile, for participating in this segment. I really appreciate all the comment and feedback that you guys have provided. What I might take away from this conversation is that mainframe customers are constantly looking to what is the future for this platform. So I really appreciate the optimism you both shared. Chile, you mentioned Beyond Code initiatives from Broadcom. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that and where customers can find more information?
Sure. I referred to a couple programs that we have available through Beyond Code, but really the whole purpose of the offering is to strengthen the ecosystem and really about making sure that customers can maximize their investments in the mainframe. We have things like education programs. We have things like getting customers equipped with the right skills, the right talent. We do the training on our own. We have free education. There's a whole bunch of different offerings we have under the Beyond Code umbrella. And if you want to find more information about those, you can click on the QR code that will appear on your screen.
And is there a charge for Broadcom customers for Beyond Code?
These are all free of cost.
Excellent. If you want more information on Beyond Code and initiatives related to Beyond Code that Chile spoke about, again, zero charge to Broadcom customers, reference the QR code, and we'll see you next time on another segment of Mainframe Insights. Thank you.